Hello, friends. Welcome to this course on health research. So this is a basic course in health research, which is being hosted by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar State Institute of Medical Sciences at Mohali and myself. I'm Dr. Ashish Goyal, a professor of medicine at this institute. I will be coordinating this course. In this session today, we are going to talk about a basic introduction of health research, and I will also tell you about this course that we are planning and conducting here at the Institute. So a brief overview of the course and an introduction to what we are planning to do. The aim of organizing this course is to try and provide motivation to the participants to complete their BCBR program, BCBR as an basic course in biomedical research. It allows small support groups to be formed whereby people can come together and develop a collective accountability and work and study together in this program to be successful in a collective manner rather than in a competitive manner, and help each other to complete the basic course in biomedical research. The method that we are going to be adopting for this program and for this course is that we will share recorded videos which will be synchronized on the schedule of the BCBR course itself, and each module will have one recorded video. The duration of the video would be under 10 minutes, and each video would provide 10 tips to you, which will be helpful in 10 take-home messages, which are the key points that you would need to remember from that particular module that we are studying that week. We will also have interactive contact sessions in which we will interact with you, help you with the course, and will help you in each module as scheduled for that particular day in trying to answer your queries, trying to understand, and trying to help you in whatever issues and challenges you face while attempting that module. Thank you once again for joining, and welcome to this program. So there are 10 tips that I'm going to provide to you that will help you in memorizing and remembering this basic course in biomedical research. And the first module in this course is the introductory course and in the introductory session. So in this introductory session, I have compiled these 10 tips which will be helpful to you in remembering and identifying the key important points in this module. So let me begin by saying that any amount of time that you spend on planning a study is always less. आप जितना भी मर्जी समय लगाएं, वो कभी अधिक नहीं होगा. So the more you plan, the more you foresee how you are going to do it, what are the problems that you may find while doing the study. It's always better, and that is how you will always be able to design a better study and organize a better research program. The second take-home message that I'm going to provide to you is the different types of research. From my experience, I find that these days there is a lot of emphasis on translational research. Translational research is largely the application of research findings to our daily ground level basics. For example, there are so many research studies which have been conducted, so much money that has been spent on conducting these studies, and yet we find that their results that have been identified and found have not been applied in clinical practice, and they have not been actually done. There are different kinds of research. It can be bench research, it can be bedside research, it can be preventive research, it can be applications research. But we will learn more about the different types of research studies as we go on with this program. In this module, I'm just trying to give you an overview and an introductory talk on what are the different things that this will cover, that this entire course and program will cover. The third key point that I would like to emphasize here is that there are different levels of review. We have a scientific review, which is often conducted by the institutional research committees. In a scientific review, It's largely seen कि इसमें क्या flaws हैं methodology में, how the methodology can be improved to better answer the research question. Can there be any improvements in this? The ethical review is done by the institutional review boards or the institutional ethics committees. They generally see the 4 principles of ethics if they have been upheld. The 4 basic principles of ethics are autonomy, where patient is the best judge for what can be done with him. Non-maleficence, that means do no harm. The patient who's participating in the research study should not come under any harm. Beneficence, that there should be benefit. And then there is distributive justice. So equitable justice or equitable distribution means everybody gets the best benefit. So there is an ethical committee in every institution which will try and see if the principles of medical ethics are being upheld during the conduct of this study. And then there is the regulatory bodies or the regulatory authorities which have a regulatory review. For example, if there is an international research being planned in collaboration, then the HMSC committee of the Indian Council of Medical Research looks at the study and sees if the international agreements and associations and sharing of data is under the radar and it's always questionable or if it's being done appropriately. So there are different levels of review a proposal or research is conducted or is subjected to. The next take-home tip that I would like to bring to you is the epidemiological triad. This is the triad of the host, agent, and environment. There is always a susceptible host. There is an agent. जब agent और host आमने सामने या एक दूसरे के ताल्लुक में आते हैं, so they produce disease in the right kind of environment. So when the environment is favorable, the host and agent come together to produce disease in the susceptible host. And often there is something like the vector which facilitates the meeting between the age and the host. So most of the epidemiology builds upon that particular triad, and we try and study this in the epidemiological research. The next emphasis that I would like to lay upon is the research question. Now, the research question needs to be defined and characterized appropriately before starting any research. अगर आपने research question अच्छे से लिख दिया, तो आधा काम तो आपका वैसे ही खत्म हो जाता है. A research question has got 5 different components, which are often referred to with the acronym PICOT, that is P-I-C-O-T, where P stands for population, that is the study population under study. I stands for intervention. What intervention is being adopted or applied in this study? C is for comparison. Is there a group in which there is no intervention being applied, which is being used as the comparison group? O stands for outcome. That means आप क्या outcome study करने वाले हैं? How are you going to measure it? What is the outcome? और फिर आप उसको दोनों groups में compare करेंगे. And then finally we have the T, which is the time. So कितने समय में ये study complete होगी? So once again, a good research question is composed of 5 components, which include the population, intervention, comparison group, outcome, and the time duration in which it is going to be completed. The next important concept that I would like to introduce to you and bring here is association, relationship, cause, and effect. So we often try to study the association between 2 variables, which is often X and Y, while we are doing any epidemiological or any kind of study in health research. दो factors के अंदर, or there can be an association or there can be a relationship between X and Y, but to establish that X is the cause of Y is a different concept altogether and requires a certain set of conditions to be fulfilled before we can say that X is a cause of Y. So what I want to emphasize here is, although there may be an association between 2 things, yet they may not be the cause and effect of each other, which often is the course and material that we study in research. The next important concept that I want to emphasize here, that it is important to identify and choose the right kind of study design. Once you have written or once you have identified your research question, then it becomes much easier and much more logical and stepwise to identify the right study design. Study designs can be cross-sectional, which can be surveys. There could be observational studies in the form of cohort studies and case-controlled studies. Cohort study जिसमें अभी disease हुई नहीं है और हम मरीज को या participant को follow करते हैं till the time of disease or outcome. Case control study यानी outcome already हो चुका है, हम cases उनको लेते हैं जिनमें outcome हो चुका है, controls उनको लेते हैं जिनमें outcome अभी नहीं हुआ है और फिर इन दोनों को compare कर देते हैं. So all these are observational study designs. And there could be experimental designs, experimental जिसमें हम कोई intervention देते हैं और हम control करते हैं कितना intervention मिलेगा, हम randomize करते हैं and we call them randomized controlled trials. So once we have a research question, it becomes easier to identify the right study design. The next concept that I want to bring to you is that of error. Now, error can be two types. जब हम कुछ भी study करते हैं, research करते हैं, there is always a chance of error. There is no study which can be free from any error at all. Now, the error could be happening at random when it is called a chance, or it could be happening systematically when it is called a bias. So, जो systematic error है, वो predict की जा सकती है और उसको हम अच्छे study design से counter कर सकते हैं. So there are ways to eliminate bias, but often the random or the chance error is more difficult to negotiate, and it is acceptable in kind of research studies. More on errors is coming up in subsequent sessions. The next concept that I want to bring to you is that of confounders, mediators, and effect measure modifiers. So whenever, as we said, we are trying to see the association between X and Y, then there are always other factors around in the environment like A, B, C, D, and E, which will affect this association between X and Y. Supposing X को Y तक पहुंचने के लिए एक बीच में mediator की जरूरत है या उसके बिना वो पूरा हो ही नहीं सकता. That means that there is M which appears between the appearance of X and Y, and to reach Y, X needs the presence of M, then that becomes a mediator. Supposing there is another variable in the environment, which is C, and it is necessary, or it has its independent effect on X and also has a separate effect on Y, then this becomes a confounder. If there is something like an E in between, जिसकी कम मात्रा में X का Y के ऊपर असर अलग होगा, और अगर E की मात्रा बढ़ जाती है, there is more of E in the environment, then the impact of X on Y will be different. That means it is modifying the effect of X on Y. The presence of E is modifying the effect of X on Y. Then we say it becomes the effect measure modifier. A good analogy to try and understand this might be the role of an enzyme in a chemical reaction. More of that coming up later in one of those sessions. The last concept that I want to bring here is sample and sample size. So whenever we conduct a research study, we always try and figure out what is the appropriate sample size to detect what we are trying to detect. Once we have the right research question, then it will be easier to get the right sample size using one of the measures or one of the calculators that are easily available in software. So much so for my 10 tips to remember from this introductory session. Once again, welcome for joining in. Thanks for stepping by, or thanks for stopping by. And we look forward to working more on this course with you. Thank you so much and all the best.